After weeks of preparation, the dredgers in Haifa Bay roared to life. Sand that had settled for thousands of years was suddenly in motion, scooped up in staggering quantities and relocated to make way for Israel's most ambitious maritime project in modern history, the Carmel port. To many, it looked like progress in action, a nation carving its future from the sea, building a gateway that would connect Israel more directly to the arteries of global trade. But beneath the headlines of modernization, the operation raised questions no one could answer fully. What happens when you strip millions of tons of material from the seabed? What secrets and consequences lie hidden beneath the surface? The scale of the project was almost unimaginable. Advanced dredging vessels, some of the largest in the world, were brought in by Dutch firms with decades of expertise in reshaping coasts. These floating giants used suction arms and massive buckets to lift sand from the Mediterranean floor, deepening channels and creating new foundations for cranes, berths, and storage yards. From above, it looked surgical. Lines and curves were drawn, as though the coastline itself were being rewritten by human ambition. Israel's goal was clear: to ensure that the next generation of mega-container ships, 400 meters long and capable of carrying tens of thousands of steel boxes, would dock in Haifa rather than bypass it for other Mediterranean hubs. The sand removed was not discarded but repurposed. It was pumped and relocated to extend the shoreline outward, reclaiming new ground from the sea itself. What had been seabed for centuries became land in a matter of months. For engineers and politicians, this was a victory. A modern port rising from the water, efficiency and transparency promised, shipping costs reduced, and Israel's role in global trade strengthened. Carmel Port was marketed as a turning point, a bold step into the future. Yet every grain of sand carried stories. Geologists noted that the dredged material revealed layers of natural history, sediments shaped by storms, river flows, volcanic ash, and ancient climate shifts. Archaeologists quietly wondered what traces of human activity might have been buried there: pottery shards, stone tools, even the remains of ancient harbors once used by Phoenicians, Greeks, or Romans. Haifa Bay, like much of the Levanten coast, had been a crossroads of civilization for thousands of years. The seabed was more than a void. It was an archive, a silent museum disturbed by the engines of progress. Marine biologists had their own concerns. Haifa Bay's seabed was not barren sand but a living system, home to seagrass meadows that provided nurseries for fish, spawning grounds for countless species, and habitats for invertebrates forming the base of the food chain. Removing sand on such a massive scale destroyed habitats instantly and stirred plumes of silt that spread across the bay. Waters once clear turned cloudy, sunlight blocked, seagrass weakened, and the intricate web of marine life began to unravel. Scientists warned of cascading effects, but their voices often struggled to compete with the urgency of schedules and the promise of economic gain. When the dredgers completed their work, the port stood taller, but the sea was altered in ways that soon became visible. Fishermen noticed familiar species disappearing and strange deep-water creatures appearing in their nets. Beaches along the coast narrowed as tides shifted and waves struck harder against the land. Shoreline erosion accelerated, putting homes and seawalls under new pressure. Divers who explored the altered seabed found jagged ridges, depressions, and exposed rock formations where smooth sand had once stretched endlessly. Some reported pottery fragments, others wooden beams, even patterns of stone that seemed too deliberate to be natural. The whispers spread quickly. Fishermen swapped stories of unusual catches, while divers spoke of strange echoes and vibrations reverberating through the water, as if the bay's new contours carried sound differently. Oceanographers explained it as currents moving through freshly cut channels, but to many, it felt like the sea itself had begun to speak. What unsettled people was not only what was found, but the realization that something ancient had been disturbed, history and ecosystems alike, unearthed and erased in the same motion. Meanwhile, the official record told a different story. Government reports, market forecasts, and glossy presentations painted Carmel Port as a triumph of modernization. They highlighted job creation, streamlined logistics, and new opportunities for Israel's economy. The port, they argued, would attract global shipping lines, cut costs, and bring prosperity. Yet buried in environmental studies were troubling details: measurable declines in shellfish populations, damage to seagrass meadows, and accelerated erosion of previously stable coastlines. Even economic analysts admitted, quietly, that while the port strengthened Israel's competitiveness, it also tied the nation more tightly to volatile global supply chains, vulnerable to disruptions far beyond its control. The most telling detail was what these reports did not say. There was no mention of pottery shards, unusual catches, or wooden beams. No acknowledgement of whispers about what history might have been lost. The language of progress had no place for mysteries science could not explain. And yet, the silence itself was striking. In the end, Carmel Port became more than a container terminal. It became a symbol of dual realities. On one hand, an engineering marvel, a statement of ambition, and a vital new link in global commerce. On the other, an ecological gamble, a cultural disruption, and a mystery that continues to unsettle scientists, locals, and historians. Its legacy is written not only in steel and cranes, but also in sand that once lay undisturbed at the bottom of the Mediterranean, carrying with it stories of life, history, and balance now forever altered. Decades from now, ships will still dock at Carmel Port, and new generations will walk its altered shores. They may see only the cranes, the cargo, and the lifeblood of trade flowing into the country. But beneath their feet, and beneath the calm surface of Haifa Bay, lies the true cost of progress. A reminder that in the pursuit of the future, we sometimes disturb the past in ways that cannot be undone.